Mike Bella.
Here.
We have a full quorum.
Thank you. We'll move into doing the reports of the chair and the co-chair. The report of the chair, I have nothing.
I have nothing.
Okay. How about the report for the director?
We can move right along. We don't have anything to report as well.
Okay, great. I will move us into the open forum section. So this is a kind of 10-minute section for any commissioners to bring up stuff that's not directly related to a specific plan or project that we want to discuss, look at having planning staff deal with, anything like that.
I do have something. Good evening, Mr. Chair. I joined the Planning Commission because I believe in diverse cosmopolitanism and the life of the city. I joined because I believe that the decisions this body make have the ability to help grow strong communities where everyone is able to thrive, or, conversely, to limit the horizons of opportunity and encourage people to turn inward. Like many, I have watched in horror the actions of ICE and CBP in the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul. These actions, the kidnapping Black and brown residents, the murder of an innocent woman, and the terrorizing of the entire community with a brutal authoritarian crackdown are anathema to everything I am trying to do on this board. It is clear now that ICE and CBP are organizations dedicated to white nationalism. They hate cities because they hate our cosmopolitanism. They hate our diversity, and they hate that people in cities can choose who we want to be and how we want to live. In short, and in an ironic twist, they hate us for our freedoms. In their ideal world, every white man would drive home at the end of the day in his gender-affirming Ford F-350 to his decaying McMansion in his shitty little suburb where he can beat and rape his wife and children at will because they have nowhere else to go. There is a request for the commission, for the staff as well, at the end of this. If that is all right. Okay. It's not within the purview of this body to respond directly to this. It is, however, within our scope to evaluate land use controls that align with the values of our community. SLC Code Section 21A.06.030 Sub 3 also vests in us the authority to propose such zoning amendments as we see fit. Given this authority, I would like to ask that staff provide the Planning Commission for consideration a zoning amendment which, to the extent permitted by applicable law, prohibits both public and private construction or use of facilities for immigration detention and enforcement. Can such a request be made by an individual commissioner, or would it need to be issued by a motion and a vote of the body?
So the Planning Commission can initiate petitions. Normally what we would do is take the request that you have, and then that we would put it together. And so on the next agenda, it would be on the agenda for the Planning Commission to be able to vote on that. And so if you want to share that language with us, we can prepare that for a future agenda.
Excellent, thank you.
I want to say that I like the way the agenda shows up online. It seems really accessible, and it looks better, and I think that all the reports are easier for all of us to find. So I really appreciate that change and improvement.
Anyone else have anything for open forum? All right, then we will move along to our regular agenda, or to the consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of two items, the approval of the minutes for December 10th, 2025, and the conditional use for the Paris Social Club at approximately 910 West, 1000 North. The Paris Social Club does have a public hearing, so I will go ahead and open the public hearing for that. And if you, and I have a couple of people here, so when I call you out, if you could step up to the microphone over there, you'll have 2 minutes to speak. Victor Lozano. Or wait, sorry. These don't have I wish to speak, so I think they just want to be read in. So Victor Lozano, I support expanding this social bar. And Jessica Esparza, also, I support expanding the Paris Social Bar. Is there anyone else who would like to comment on this item? Okay. Then I will close the public comment for that project and see if we have a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd actually like to make a motion to remove the Parasocial Club from the consent agenda because I have a couple of questions for the staff.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, so voting will be facilitated by staff.
Jeff Barrett,
Yes.
Amy Berry,
Yes.
Amy Burrows,
Yes.
Richard Leverett,
Yes.
Lila Rosenfield,
Yes.
Brian Scott,
Yes.
Mike Bella.
I was not here last time, so I'm abstaining.
The motion on the table is to move the Parasocial Club to the regular agenda.
Yes.
Okay, that passed unanimously.
All right, well then, as we move into, oh wait, sorry.
Do I need to make a motion to approve the minutes?
Yeah, we'll still need to do that.
Motion to approve the
I'll
minutes.
second.
All right. We have a motion and a second for approving the minutes.
Okay. Jeff Barrett,
Yes.
Amy Berry,
Yes.
Amy Burrows,
Yes.
Richard Leverett, Lila Rosenfield,
Yes.
Brian Scott,
Yes.
Mike Bella.
Yes.
That passed unanimously.
Awesome. All right, then we will move along to the regular agenda, and our first item on that will be the Parasocial Club.
If I just could say, I don't know that we need a full presentation on it, but other commissioners may disagree. I just had some questions about it.
I'm
It's up
happy
to the
to give a
chair.
full presentation or just answer questions.
It's up to the chair.
I'm fine with just taking questions.
Okay.
I think your mic's off, Brian.
Then we will just move to questions.
Yeah, Riley, the report was great. I just had some like cleanup questions, which then necessitates removing it from the consent agenda. So one of the questions I have is regarding the combination of public safety's comments and then to the safety plan, and then regarding other public comments from the neighboring business about like increase in trash and whatnot that they see. And I'm wondering, what were the conditions on the original conditional use regarding those items? Because I want to evaluate if they are been met, if they were being met, and then if they need to be stronger.
If I remember correctly, there's only 2 conditions that were approved with the previous conditional use with like the original request. And the first one was that the bar would be limited to 2,198 square feet. And the other one was that the security and operations plan would be recorded by the city recorder, which it has been. So there weren't specific conditions related to
Okay.
the security and operations
So
plan.
in that securities and operations plan, did they have provisions about like security and trash pickup and noise reduction after the establishment closes? And have they been meeting that based on the comments from the neighboring business? So I just wanted to know, evaluate that.
Yes, they have.
So then I guess then my question then to commissioners is, do we need to think about increase or providing a provision that requires them to, because we've done this before for bar establishments in neighborhoods, to be better about doing a sweep and picking up the trash, whether it's the night of or the morning after. If that's something that the other commissioners want to consider adding as a condition, because it's a conditional use, and the premise of a conditional use is that if there are detrimental impacts to a neighborhood, that we can have reasonable conditions to mitigate those. If we provide reasonable mitigation measures and then they fail to comply with those, the conditional uses can be revoked. So it's another layer to help the neighborhood so that they mingle together together better, because I personally am not against expanding the square footage of it, but if based on the public comments we've seen, it might warrant that we add a condition that they have, that their security and operations plan actually includes efforts to pick up the trash related to their establishment.
Hey, Riley, if I was mistaken, I saw that in the police comments in your report, I thought that they had actually added an addendum to make sure that the trash gets picked up every single morning, as opposed to the earlier security operations plan, which just indicated that they would take care of it. And so I thought they added a line that said every morning it would be taken care of. Am I wrong on that?
You're correct, and that is currently included in the security and operations
Okay, so
plan.
that is an updated part of the new security. Okay, then that's great. That was kind of what I really wanted to get at. Because I remember the public safety comments were like, they didn't really address everything. And so then I was like, not sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So you feel like, based on my concern, the updated safety and operations plan covers that adequately?
Yeah, that is how I feel. Yeah.
Okay, then I'm fine with that. Since I'm the only one who had questions, I'll go ahead and pull up the motion sheet and make a motion. 1 second, please. Okay. Based on the information presented and the discussion, I will move that the commission approves the conditional use and application as recommended by staff for PLN PCM 2025-01034.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Barry and a second from Commissioner Burrows. We'll go ahead and vote.
Jeff Barrett,
Yes.
Amy Berry,
Yes.
Amy Burrows,
Yes.
Richard Leverett, Lila Rosenfeld,
Yes.
Brian Scott,
Yes.
Mike Vela.
Yes. Excuse me, yes.
Passed unanimously.
All right, great. We will move along to item number 3. Thank you. Which is the zoning map amendment at approximately 1073 South Navajo Street. PLN PCM 2025-01015.
Good afternoon. Give me just a minute to pull this up. All right, great. Good evening, commissioners. I'm Olivia Savetko, principal planner. Tonight I will be presenting a zoning map amendment at 1073 South Navajo Street. So this is a request to change the zoning at this property from its existing R1 5000 to RMF 30. Some quick facts about the property. It's a little bit under a ½ acre right now, and has one single family home on the property. This zone, R1 5000, does require 5,000 square feet minimum per lot. So this home, or this lot at 21,000 square feet could potentially currently have up to 4 lots on it. The proposed use, the applicants don't have a formal site plan quite yet, but their narrative has stated that they plan to preserve the home that's on site now and provide additional for sale homes on the site. Staff is recommending that the council forward a positive recommendation with the identified community benefit and details stipulated in a development agreement. I did want to bring up there was a small clarification to the language on one of the conditions of approval in the staff report, but it was uploaded yesterday, so if you haven't noticed it, it's okay. I pasted it in here so we could go over it together. The The condition of approval is that any additional dwelling units over 5 units, which is what could be developed now under the current zoning, must be for sale. Previously, the condition was a little more vague and just said any additional dwelling or any additional density shall be for sale. So we amended that language to be a little bit more clear and enforceable in a development agreement. The standards of approval for a zoning map amendment, things that we should be considering as outlined by our code are consistency with adopted plans and policies, the impact on surrounding properties, impact on infrastructure and services, the proposed community benefit associated with the petition, and the potential for residential and commercial tenant displacement. All right, so this property falls within the West Side Plan, which was adopted in 2014. The future land use map calls this property and the surrounding properties out as residential. This plan is a little different than some of our others. It calls out residential and says that these areas, we want to promote reinvestment and redevelopment in communities through changes in land use, development of underutilized properties such as this one. Additionally, Housing SLC, which is our housing plan adopted in 2023, one of the primary goals of that plan is to enable housing types that are conducive to ownership and family occupancy, which this proposal achieves. Here is a little bit of neighborhood context. I've got a map up here highlighting the subject property along with some nearby lots that are smaller than 5,000 square feet, which is what the R1 5,000 zone requires. Some lots that have apartments and condos that may be legally non-conforming, and some duplexes as well. This neighborhood, a lot of the development on this neighborhood predates existing zoning regulations, and therefore a lot of the homes are non-compliant under today's code. They may be duplexes mixed in with single family or homes built on smaller lots, but that's kind of the character of this area. This lot is located within walking distance to an elementary school. As you can see, it's just north of the site. It's got a middle school roughly half a mile, I believe, to the southwest. It's within walking distance of Jordan Park and Peace Gardens and a small circle park, Navajo Circle. There's also a Smith's walkable distance and a small shopping center about a half mile to the south. The community benefit that the applicant has proposed is for sale housing. So I pulled a little bit of American Community Survey data in here to show that this area, the Glendale community, has about 70% renter occupancy in the homes, compared to Salt Lake City as a whole, which is about 52% renter occupied. So the Glendale community does have has less ownership opportunities than the city overall. The difference in what could be developed on the lot with its existing zoning, R1 5000, versus the proposed zoning of RMF 30. Currently, I touched on this, but single family is all that can be built on properties in the R1 5000. They're required to have 5,000 square feet per lot. This lot is 21,000 square feet. Under the RMF 30 code, there is a bit more wiggle room in building forms, what kind of housing you can build on the property, including single-family dwellings with only 2,000 square feet per unit, two-family dwellings, and cottage development. You can also develop row homes and multifamily residential. Most of these housing types do require 2,000 square feet per unit. A couple of them require 1,500 square feet per unit. And sorry, I marked this in here and not on my PowerPoint. So under the housing types that require 1,500 square feet per unit, there is the potential for up to 14 units on this site. I received 2 public comments, which are in the staff report, 1 opposed and 1 in favor. And again, staff is recommending that you forward a positive recommendation to the City Council with the identified community benefit and details stipulated in a development agreement. And I believe the applicant is here tonight as well. So.
If the applicant has a presentation they would like. As the applicant, do you have a presentation you'd like to do or no? Okay. Okay, great, thank you. Then does anyone on the commission have any clarifying questions before we?
So that community benefit would only apply if more than 5 units are built, correct?
That's correct.
Excellent,
Yes.
thank you.
What was that question?
That community benefit would only apply if more than 5 units are constructed.
Is there, under what circumstance, if we were to approve this, would the owner not have to come back before us? Under what design or plan scenario would they not have to come back before us?
Under the RMF 30 code, they would be permitted to, in addition to the different types of housing outlined, they also have the ability to build lots or homes without public street frontage, which typically requires a planned development. That would not be required under this zone. So if approved, this development would likely not come back before the commission.
Even if the lot is subdivided because there are ownership units, it wouldn't have to come back?
That's correct. As long as they don't need any design review or plan development approvals.
All right, I will go ahead and open the public hearing. If anyone has comments on this project, you can step up to the mic and you'll have 2 minutes.
Where's the mic?
And please state your name.
My name is Leo Montoya. My dad bought these properties that we have right near there years ago. Anyway, these are all single residential houses that are owned along that street. This is not going back from owner to owner. These people have been there years and years. We don't want to see no 15 complex across the street where there isn't even parking in the first place going to be provided for this building. You know it's not, they're not going to build 2 houses or 3 houses. They intend to build a complex. It's not needed there. We don't want it there. That street is packed as it is. It's trying to drive there. Traffic is crazy. There's schools down on both ends. There's an elementary at the south end, and there's that other elementary on the north side. We don't want it. We've seen what happens when you let somebody come in and start building next to you. We own some property at 935 and 937 South Washington Street, and they've got skyscrapers on both sides of our house that we got there. Why don't they go do this at their houses where they grew up and please their neighbors, because we don't need it. We don't want it. We don't need multiple people houses living there and then no parking spaces even provided. They say they're going to do it, but they don't do it. We've seen it. We're just here, I'm just here to represent my family's property. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak on this? Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, my name's Max Montoya. We own a lot in the field on 1058 South Navajo Street. I'm just want to point out that there are schools that are nearby, so that would be beneficial for the complex. But what isn't is right now they're building a complex across from the elementary school. It's like about 10, 20 units, and all they might provide parking. Maybe they won't, maybe they don't, I don't see it. But every day I drive there and there's a kid gets almost hit every time I go by there because there's no proper stop signs. There's a stop sign, but the kids, they just stop in the middle of the road and the people have to wait for their kids in the middle of the road. And what's gonna happen if this is a closed road? It's going to be, yes, they have more schools there, but all their kids are going to be in danger if you get 15 more units. That's 15 more cars, and that's 15 more kids or 30 more kids. Also, the community there is, it's all housing, and I don't think it's appropriate to put 15 units right in somebody's backyard, because then they're going to have problems with, it might turn into a project, or, it might be too many people in one certain spot, is what it is. I think there's too many people, they're planning too many houses in one certain spot is all. And that's about it.
Okay, thank you. Hang on, you're the applicant. I'm going to give you a second, and if so, you don't have to do that, but yes, go ahead.
Aline DeVoe. I don't live in the area, but listening to the proposal, I had a question about what kinds of units, because I know we need affordable housing in Salt Lake, and families are needing housing, so more than a one-bedroom place. So I don't know if this is anything relevant to the proposal, but like what size units, and then also it said for sale, but is that for sale owner occupied? For sale, or for sale to an investor or a landlord, which that makes a big difference in my mind.
Thank you. All right, as the applicant, if you'd like to come up here, you can have time to respond to any of those or say comments.
Did you want to close the public hearing first?
Yes, I did. I wanted to close the public hearing.
Okay. I'm just going to take a minute before my husband. My name's Michelle Lundberg, and before I met my husband, I actually lived in Draper. I bought a home down there. It was on a tiny lot. It was a house. It was close together, went high, so there was enough square footage. And when I bought that house, I had so many friends that were in a similar phase of life where they wanted to buy a house. They didn't want to live in a condo or in an apartment, but that type of housing is so difficult to find. When I met my husband, he was actually commenting on how we need more of that kind of housing. So I've bought the kind of housing that we're looking into building. I'm going to let him comment on that, but specifically, it's expensive to buy a house today, and so many people want to buy a house. We have family members who can't afford to buy and want to live near Salt Lake, and it's too expensive to live near Salt Lake. So they have long commutes and they're faced with a lot of different options that are all hard. Do they outspend what they're able to afford? Do they have really long commutes as more and more people are moving here and the commute times are getting longer? So that's something that, as we were talking about this project, was part of the inspiration, is a single family home that I currently own in Draper.
My name is Mark Overdevest, and I'm actually a real estate broker, so I deal with housing regularly. I've been doing it over 20 years. When I first moved to Salt Lake City, you could get a home for $200,000, $250,000 pretty reasonably. That's no longer the case. Even in this neighborhood, there is a shortage of supply, particularly on the west side. Under $350,000 is extremely hard to find. And I do think that home ownership is an important It's important for the fabric of our communities. I understand that change is scary. I understand that people don't want to have row homes in high levels of density. Unfortunately, the R1 5000, as you can see from the topo, I mean, we have an 850 square foot home on a half-acre lot, and this street is on the bus line. And in my opinion, this entire street is a perfect candidate for having additional density, which this city sorely needs. Parking is something that needs to be addressed. I hear that point, although I personally haven't seen it. I've had that home for several years. I have not seen the street. But I think we need to wrap our heads around how are we going to get more density, for sale, ownership density into Salt Lake City. And this street, in my opinion, is one of the best places to do so. So, thank you.
Thank you. I will open it up to the commission for any discussion.
I wonder if you can answer that question real quick about what type of units would be allowed if you do the rezone.
Sure, and I believe I've got it on a slide, so sorry for the slide whiplash here. Okay, so this is all of the housing types allowed in the zone. There are single-family units allowed on smaller lots than they would be allowed in the R1 5000. Two-family dwellings, like twin homes, cottage developments, row homes, and multifamily residential. There's also a height limit of 30 feet, so it would not be like high-rise multifamily residential. It would be limited to that 30 feet. And I also was pulling this up while we had some public comments. The parking requirement varies based on the type of housing that is built, but the smallest parking requirement for this zone would be 1 parking space per unit, so they are required to provide off-street parking for new development.
The figures that are on there, like for a row house, it says 2,000 square feet per unit. That's not saying how big the row house has to be. That's saying how much ground you need for each row house.
That's right.
Okay. And then like a row house does have or like I know some of them have minimum sizes, like cottage development has to be 650 square feet or something like that.
Yeah, there are requirements for that. I don't think there is a requirement of square feet for a row house. But there is that for the cottage homes, and I can.
Yeah, and all those different types have like how much open space they have around them and how much space they have between each other and between their neighbors and all of that kind of stuff, right?
Right.
It gets kind of complicated because that RMF is residential based on form-based.
It is, yeah.
And 30 feet is the maximum height, so it's only like 2 feet higher than what's allowed right now, right?
That's true. And then another thing is the applicants have stated that they are keeping the home that's on site there. So that also kind of limits how many houses they can fit on the property. If you remember from the aerial ahead, it is set back quite a bit into the lot. So, and I believe realistically, I was trying to kind of configure, a few situations here. I think realistically 14 would be a hard fit. I'm sure it could happen with some configuring, but yeah, there are some constraints there that limit that as well.
So this side of the street is that overhead view is crazy because the one side lots are so long, and the other side, like their background neighbors are so short, right? So the density is not different because they all have the same amount of street, but just like how much yard they have is different. Is that right? Because they have one backyard neighbor? Yeah.
Right.
And then the other block is the same way too, where there's like a really deep lot and then a little skinny lot, a little smaller lot on the other side. So
yeah, the lots on this street they're deep.
I appreciate that this neighborhood seems like it has a lot to offer people to live there. My concern is if the public benefit is actually met if you only make the 6th unit be for sale. Like, I don't know that the first 5 units don't have to be for sale is the right number. Because you could, with 5,000 square feet, you could build, if you could figure it out, 4 houses on this lot. Or you could subdivide this lot into 4 lots and build 4 houses. So maybe the 5th one needs to be for sale, needs to be a benefit or something like that. That's what I think on that. And that would just be a change to the condition.
To clarify, because this is a rezone, we would actually have to decline or deny or not recommend to the council because we are not allowed to change conditions, is what I have been told, correct?
Well, I think you have multiple ways to get there. You could deny it based on that you feel that the community benefit does not, it's not sufficient. I think that you could also make a recommendation, a positive recommendation, and request that the city council consider amending that community benefit to change. We also have the applicant in the audience, so I think that we could also have a discussion with him to see if he would be amenable to adding that. Is that correct?
So yeah, this isn't the time to, shall we say, negotiate with the applicant. The applicant has put a proposal, but if it's more of a general, do you agree that this is a community benefit or do you not agree? That's the, purview in the code to recommend or not recommend. But if you think, that exact number might, need a tweak, that could be part of your recommendation is to, look at that number, whether it be 5 or whether it be 5 or more.
Okay. To clarify, under the, is it thriving in place, the density bonusing for affordability, theoretically there could be up to currently 4 units per lot subdivided into 4. Is that correct?
That is correct. There's a little bit of technicality there. I mean, currently to make 4 lots in the R15 zone out of this one very deep lot, I believe they would likely need a planned development because those lots would likely not face a public street. But you are right, if they went through that process and did not rezone the property and were able to subdivide that into 4 lots, they could potentially go through the affordable housing incentive and have 4, 8, 12, 16 homes with, a percentage of those being affordable. That's correct.
Got you. And so in some ways, what we're doing is we're not just, when we're talking about this community benefit, we're not just talking about, how much is there this community benefit, but we're also saying that by upzoning, we would be extinguishing the sort of potential obligation towards a community benefit to create the same number of units. This is maybe a little bit confusing. Maybe I'm getting a little wrapped around the axle, but currently, in order to get that density under the current zoning, the community benefit provided would be the requirements under the affordability requirements, the thriving in place affordability.
That's right. Yeah, they could achieve a similar unit count with a variety of, like if they combined a planned development and a affordable housing incentive, they could potentially achieve the same density. They would not be required to make any of those for sale housing. I believe in the application, the applicants stated that the reason they were pursuing this zone is specifically that it does allow so many different housing types rather than just plopping 4 fourplexes down. Yeah. It gives them a little bit more flexibility in the housing they're able to build, and like they mentioned, they are hoping to provide ownership opportunities for entry-level home buyers. So.
And then I guess my last concern is this spot zoning? Like, are we choosing a very specific parcel that is not surrounded by any other parcels of a similar type? Like, you know, in general, I think that I hear that this could be an opportunity for some densification. Are you okay? But, you know, this is a ways away from anything other than single-family residential. Should this be considered more carefully as part of a broader package, or and obviously, like, we can only look at the application before us, but it seems like if the discussion we're having is this a good idea, then maybe the discussion should be deny it now, look into the opportunities for what kind of, you know, zoning should this neighborhood as a whole have.
I think that's a really good point, and you do have to make that decision whether this site is appropriate for that. We look at the standards and measure those against that. I can tell you that in our next probably 5-6 years, I don't see that coming in our future to relook at the West Side Master Plan. As of right now, we're working on Northwest, Capitol Hill, Avenues, this year's Central Community, which could take quite a while, and then Sugar House. So I would say that just it is something to consider, but I don't know that it's in the near future for us as a division to start on, but it is something that you do need to consider. We have had similar situations, and I think we've used or recommended the RMF 30 zone specifically because it is similar in the heights and setbacks and things like that to a single family residential zone, rather than some of our other zones like RMF 35 or 45 that add a lot more height that considered would be easily not compatible with the existing neighborhood. So just something to think about.
Appreciate it.
So I'll pipe into the discussion. I think there's a lot of dueling, like, positives and potential negatives. One of the things that is difficult when evaluating a map amendment and a rezone request is without a proposal, a specific proposal, you have to look at all of the what ifs. You have to do that anyway, but when you have a specific proposal, you at least have a little bit something more solid to go on. But I think one of my biggest concerns that I am not in favor of is rezoning something that this neighborhood is very uniform. And when you drive out there, there's really not a lot of differences in how the neighborhood is laid out in terms of housing. I think infill is great, and I think having duplexes on here or even a fourplex, can be very compatible. But what I am always concerned about and generally not in favor of is rezoning how a neighborhood is potentially going to redevelop in the middle of the block. If we're going to be thoughtful about how a neighborhood does then grow, I think it happens, we have a better idea, and it's a better plan when it happens from like the edge in. But when you do something in the middle of a block, especially in a neighborhood, and it's not just Navajo Street, it's like that whole neighborhood is all very similar. It's a bad way to develop, in my opinion. We should be looking at how we change the development pattern of a neighborhood from like the outside in, and it's a much better pattern and way to go. So I think that there's a lot of different things at play here. The intent, how you don't have a problem with people wanting to provide housing. I think the evaluation for me comes at how do we want to grow? How do I feel like is the best pattern in how we redevelop neighborhoods? And I also think evaluating the potential of what could be there, because we don't have a proposal, to what could be allowed under the current zone. And I think we can increase housing. We can see some infill on this steep lot with the current housing that does provide additional housing opportunities with the existing zone. But, again, our role is to provide a recommendation to the city council because they're the ones who decide on rezones. So at this point, I would not be in favor of a positive recommendation to the council.
Can you go back to the one image that you had where we were going from the R1 5000 to the RMF? So I share some concerns, but I want to. I guess what I'm thinking is that I've driven the area and the street in particular, and it's a very quiet residential single-family home neighborhood, very nicely. It's well-kept homes and such, and I could potentially see the single-family, the two-family dwelling, cottage, and even up to perhaps row house, without changing the dynamic of the neighborhood significantly. What I struggle with is when we get to multifamily, and that could drive up to 14, 15 units, at least 14, 15 plus parking, coming in and out. What would that do to gaining access and basically to the middle of the block? That's where I struggle. With the building type comparison, I can see some of these that are allowed by RMF 30, without changing it, but still satisfying what the city is wanting to have, more affordable housing. I foster that, but what I don't foster is building right in the middle of this neighborhood that I think honestly would very drastically change the dynamic of its immediate neighbors. Were this at the edges, so that they were on the main thoroughfares or arteries, I can see that, and that's okay. But what I bristle is right in the middle of the neighborhood, allowing the possibility of being all the way up to multifamily residential. I'm not certain that I could foster that either.
I think, okay, I guess one more question, which is there's obviously the restriction on demolition or removal of the existing property, right? Does that ever expire?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
The community benefit agreement, which prohibits the removal or requires the maintenance in place of the existing building, does that ever expire?
I don't believe so. It looks like John's
as long as
unmuting.
it's included in the development agreement itself and not just he said he promises he'll keep it. It would have to be written into the actual agreement itself that the house cannot be demolished. And then at that point, it could not be demolished unless they went back to the city council and amended that agreement.
Right. If they were planning to demolish the home, part of our zoning map amendment code requires that they provide tenant relocation assistance and replace the unit in kind in any future development. There's kind of a third option there, but there are other standards associated with that. So the applicant has stated that they're planning to keep it. That would be part of the development agreement.
Yeah, I guess what I'm getting hung up on is I like that approach. I just don't love the feeling of, if we could say that this entire block is RMF 30, I think that would be probably pretty appropriate with obviously considered evaluation from staff, but one parcel just makes me feel a little nervous. I don't know, y'all. And then, the interesting thing about if that is included in the development agreement, which is what we would be recommending, correct? That it be fully included in the development agreement if we were to recommend this motion as recommended by staff, yes?
Right.
If eventually that house has problems, gets old, falls into the ground, then it tangles it up in city bureaucracy pretty severely. But I'm sure that there are plenty of sites across the city that have things like that.
One thing I do also want to point out, I think might help this discussion a bit. I wish I had a street view photo in this PowerPoint. Unfortunately, I don't, but there is one in the staff report if you guys have that up. The way the lot is currently situated with the existing house and lot size requirements, setbacks, new development would be built behind the existing home. And there is also a rather long drive along the northern property line that would probably likely serve as access naturally to any housing that would be built behind that, with that already being there. But that front drive down the neighborhood would not change significantly. And with that maximum height of 30 feet, like John said, it's only about 2 feet higher than what is allowed in the current zone.
There are 2 structures behind the building. What do you know what those are?
I believe they are detached garages.
There's a detached garage that's actually a larger footprint than the home in front of the property. And then there's a shed and a barn. These are previous owner had goats.
Sir, anything you say we need to have on record, so you need to be at a microphone.
You guys can come sit up here if you'd like.
Yeah, you can come up to the front.
Yeah. You'll have to push a button on the mic.
On this mic here?
Yeah, there's. There.
Okay. So these are all very valid concerns. And I do want to be clear that our intent is not to build a multifamily like what you have here with, that's not the plan. We'd like to do, the way we see it, we could probably get 7 single-family detached homes on the property. To tear down the house at the front of the property is completely counterproductive if we're trying to add density, to add single-family for ownership homes. The visual aesthetic of the street, in our view, would not change, because as you drive down Navajo Street, you have that the existing house will stay. The garage, which is well behind that structure, and can't readily be seen from the street itself, lies behind that house. And then behind that garage is where all of this underutilized vacant land is sitting. So from our vantage, it's just to add small cottage homes or single-family homes, entry-level homes, that will not visually affect the feel as you're driving down the street. You'll have parking back there. With setbacks and fire restrictions, we don't see that you could get more than seven homes on that parcel anyway.
Thanks.
Out of curiosity, is the current resident aware of this request being on the books?
I'm sorry?
Is the current resident aware that what?
Oh, my tenant?
Yes.
No, they're not.
Okay.
They're not, yeah. Yeah. They have a lease, and we've actually, we didn't know how things were going to go here today, so we didn't want to startle them, to be frank. But I think that, the idea would be to offer the home to them to see if they want to buy it. They've only been there for a few months.
Okay, thank you.
So, but we've had it for several years.
I want to make sure I understood the takeaway from your discussion with Commissioner Rosenfield. Is the expectation, or can we know that they will be bound to the retention of the unit, regardless of their stated intent?
It will be written into the development agreement, and I don't think there's really a way around that without coming back. Is that right?
Gotcha. Yeah, it's
Right. If the development agreement is approved by the council with that included, the only way around it would be to come back to the council and have it amended.
Thank you.
But ultimately, it is the council's discretion, regardless of whether we give an up or a down vote today, what exactly they determine. I'm ready to make a motion. Would you like to go, Commissioner Burrows?
I'm interested to hear what yours is.
She's going to make a motion.
No, I have one, but
Okay.
mine would kind of be what I said, so.
Okay. Well, I've been convinced. Based on the information presented in the discussion, I move that the commission recommends the city council adopt this request as recommended by staff.
I'll second that.
I have a substitute motion.
Yeah.
I move that the commission recommends that the city council deny this request because evidence has not been presented that demonstrates the proposal complies with the following standard. Zoning map amendments: A, to decrease street congestion; D, the distribution of land development as it relates to how the neighborhood is, the context; and 3, the adverse effect of the potential adverse effect on adjacent neighborhoods.
Do we have a second on the substitute motion? No.
Okay.
Then we have our first motion from Commissioner Rosenfeld and seconded by Commissioner Leverett. And we'll go ahead and vote.
Can I propose a friendly amendment? Could we suggest that any additional dwelling units over 4 must be for sale?
I'll accept that so long as staff, I feel like in previous meetings I've been informed by staff that we can't make additional recommendations on top of the up or down motion. But if it is appropriate and in line to do it, I will absolutely accept that.
I think this falls within accepting generally what the applicant has proposed. And it's up for the city council to decide 5 or more than 4.
Okay, so then I'll accept the substitute motion or
Okay.
the
Thanks.
friendly.
All right. Then we will go ahead and vote on the substitute motion.
No, the original
sorry,
motion.
not the substitute motion, the amended motion, which is approval, but changing the recommendation to anything over 4 being for sale.
Jeffrey Barrett,
Yes.
Amy Berry,
No.
Amy Burrows,
Yes.
Richard Leverett,
Yes.
Lila Rosenfeld,
Yes.
Brian Scott,
Yes.
Mike Vela.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-1.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Enough is really.
Put it in your own backyard.
The less I do it.
So we're going to pause for 10 minutes since our dinner showed up real late. We'll grab that and be right back with you guys. on to the next item, which is the zoning map and general plan amendment at approximately 2669 West, 3300 North.
We need to wait for the others? Okay. Thank you, members of the commission. The item before you tonight is a zoning map amendment request by Scott Bates on behalf of the Clark and Kimberly or Christine Ivory Foundation. And it's a zoning map amendment from AG2 to M1A. And also along with that, it requires a master plan amendment of the North Point Small Area Plan Amendment from natural open space and wetland to light industrial. Staff is recommending that the commission forward a positive recommendation to the City Council for both the zoning map amendment and master plan amendments with two conditions. One, that a development agreement be recorded to ensure that the proposed community benefit to reserve commercial space for local or businesses or charitable organization is included in any future development on the property, and that the applicants perform a wetlands delineation study at the time of the subdivision of the land or prior to any development, and that those wetlands be designated as natural open space and also be included in the development agreement. Just giving some location and context, the property is in the far northern boundaries of the city, west of 2200 West. It's currently surrounded on four sides with BP zoning, and then it includes on the east side sections of M1A, AG2, and AG5 zoning. This is a view of the property from 3300 North and vicinity photos in the area. Again, the property is AG2 currently, which is an agricultural zone, and it's also in the airport flight path protection overlay. The master plan area is indicated in the North Point Small Area Plan, even though at the time that that plan was developed, it was not annexed into Salt Lake City. The property was annexed in June of this previous year by the City Council and is approximately 80 acres, and currently it's vacant agricultural land. Specific development proposals have not been included with this rezone request, but any future development of the land, if it is rezoned, would need to be an allowed use in the M1A zone and in scale with and according to the development standards of that zone. It should also be noted that in June 2025, as the City Council motioned to annex the property into Salt Lake City, they added to their motion that the administration review the property for a potential rezone to M1A. So looking at the standards of approval, first for a zoning map amendment, we look to see if it's consistent with any of the various master plans and other planning goals and objectives in the recorded documents of the city. And if it furthers the purpose statement of the zoning ordinance, we see how it affects neighboring properties, and that it's consistent with any overlays, and that it can properly be serviced by public facilities, roads, utilities, and then also that it implements a required community benefit. In considering a general plan amendment, we again see that it's consistent with citywide policies and the goals and policies in the general plans, and whether significant change has taken place that warrants an update to the adopted plan, and whether the goals of that plan are still consistent with policies in the citywide plans. Again, the public benefit of increased development potential is considered, and impacts to properties in the vicinity, and again, the ability of the city to provide public services, utilities, and other services to the property. The applicant has proposed a community benefit to provide commercial space for local businesses or charitable organizations. They would do this by providing tenant space reserved within the any future development. The applicant will be providing additional detail on that proposal. Staff is recommending that the specifics on the community benefit, for example, amount of space allocated in any future development, to be recorded in a development agreement. In considering this request, we look at the compatibility with the master plans for the area. First and foremost, Plan Salt Lake, the citywide master plan, and this request fulfills objectives and goals in both the neighborhood and growth chapters by encouraging and supporting local businesses, encouraging a greater mix of land uses, and promoting redevelopment of underutilized land. And then in considering the North Point Small Area Plan, we look at several things. One, the vision map for the area plan does show this designated as wetland or natural open space as a future designation. However, there is an asterisk in there that I wanted to read what that means. It states that the wetlands include both jurisdictional and non-jurisdictional wetlands. The vision map is intended as a general guide for wetland areas, but specific wetland delineation should be done when land is developed. Identification of wetlands primarily involves a determination of three factors: the predominance of wetland vegetation, hydraulic wetland soils, and signs of hydrology. And so again, staff is recommending that study be one of the conditions of approval. The North Point Small Area Plan contains a number of directions in it, and it talks about identifying appropriate future land use and development characteristics for the area that can coexist with wildlife habitat and natural environment in the Great Salt Lake in the operations of the Salt Lake City International Airport. It also talks about identifying appropriate buffering, building design, and development characteristics to reduce the impacts to residential and agricultural uses, important wildlife habitat, and other uses within the corridor. It recommends methods to reduce the negative impacts that future land uses may have on air quality, water quality, noise, and light. In response to those objectives, one of the primary methods that is to be addressed through the plan was by the creation of the M1A zone. And so this, by being rezoned to M1A, would help fulfill those particular objectives in the M1A. Also, another point out of the North Point Small Area Plan is it indicates the North Point represents an opportunity for Salt Lake City to encourage economic development that is compatible with the unique natural and built environments of the area, including proximity to the Salt Lake City International Airport. The area is best suited for business park and industrial development. So I wanted to point out those areas of compatibility with the plan, but also not forget that they are proposing to amend the general plan for the area. And so in doing that, the primary consideration is if significant change has occurred that warrants updates to the adopted plan. So looking at this and considering future land uses surrounding the property, both under construction and in the planning stages, on three sides, the property is surrounded by the Skinnell Logistics Campus, or the future Skinnell Logistics Campus, which again is zoned BP. And then to the east, there's also a portion of the Scannell Logistics Campus, and there's some agricultural and light industrial uses there now. Furthering the idea of compatibility with the M1A zone includes far more stringent setbacks, height restrictions, site standards, design, and environmental standards than the BP zone, which would surround the property. And also, as this goes through the subdivision process in the future, that would require, that also would require delineation and protection of wetlands and buffers and the like. So in looking at the two zones, the existing AG2 zone versus the M1A, first we look at the purpose statement. The AG2 is to protect preserve and protect agricultural uses, whereas the M1A zone is to protect sensitive shorelands while allowing for minimal impact light industrial research and office uses. And then I've listed a few of the example uses that would be permitted in each zone. And although there are certainly far less in the agricultural zone, they do have they have the ability to change the conditions that are there currently. Whether there was a farm or wind energy system, single family dwellings, things like that would be permitted in the AG2 zone currently. And then the site design and environmental standards are largely restricted to building setbacks, and any new lots would be required a 20% open space area, landscaped area. In the M1A, there are additional uses allowed: the light manufacturing, office uses, indoor recreation, research and development, and warehouse. But there is more stringent site design and environmental standards. There's limitations on the building sizes allowed. They are required to only use native or water-wise plants for their landscaping. They have to create a plan to eliminate and mitigate noxious weeds from the site. It has enhanced building materials requirements to be more compatible with the natural landscape. Low solar reflective index roofing, bird-friendly glass, dark sky lighting, wildlife-friendly fencing, and then more stringent standards for stormwater treatment and management through public utilities. Received multiple comments from groups or individuals in regards to this proposal, including from environmental preservation and sporting organizations. The common themes in the comments were not wanting to lose the playa and the natural area. There was concern of insufficient environmental protections for any future development, and wanting to use different implementation mechanisms of the master plan, as the master plan kind of talks about, potentially purchasing open space land and doing different things. And I think they asked for a little bit more robust implementation mechanisms to carry out some of the visions of the master plan, and then wanting to rezone the property to open space and for the land to be protected as wetlands. Again, staff recommends approval of both the master plan amendment and the zoning map amendment, and with the conditions that have been stated.
All right, thank you. If the applicant's here, if you could come join us up at the front desk, and if you have a presentation, you have 10 minutes to do that.
Yeah. If you want to come right here.
You need to run the slide.
Eric, you have the button?
I will.
Okay, Eric's got it.
Here, I'll give you the.
Okay, where do I?
project?
It's the same as what you can see right there, so
Okay, sounds good.
if you can't see your mouse, you'll have to look on here, but.
Okay, sounds good.
And let's see, that one is on. Scott, if you want your mic, you need to press that button.
Right here.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you for the opportunity to present a quick overview of the intended project related to the rezone request and the master plan amendment request before the commission tonight.
Thanks. If you could
Sir-
state your name into
yeah.
the record,
Oh,
please.
Scott Bates.
Thanks.
I'm
And-
here on behalf of the Clark and Christine.
Put the microphone closer to you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I guess I need more practice at this. Is that better? Scott Bates here on behalf of the Clark and Christine Ivory Foundation, and thank you for the time. Just as a brief statement, we do believe that the foundation's intended project is aligned with and will help accomplish the three key considerations set forth on page 3 of the staff report, particularly that it will promote the city goals and policies in the adopted plans in place that were mentioned in the staff report. It accomplishes the community benefit standard, encouraging small business development and charitable organizations and causes to be benefited. And it is compatible, and in fact, the requested change would be less permissive than the surrounding uses immediately adjacent to the property, namely the 440-acre Scannell Industrial Development, which has been mentioned as Zone BP. With that, we could go to the next slide. The core mission of the foundation is to invest and create dollars that benefit education, affordable housing, and other basic needs. And the foundation has benefited these three core mission areas by benefiting thousands of individuals to date. This property was bought by the foundation almost 5 years ago with the intent that profits from the development would in fact go to scholarships, affordable housing, homelessness, and other basic human needs. And that remains the intended purpose and goal today. If you can go to the next slide, you can see the foundation property sort of a donut hole in the middle of the Scannell Industrial Development. It's also, I think, insightful to note that in the city's transportation master plan, it provides for the sort of the elbow bypass road here that would go through the Scannell existing development and border the foundation property on the west. I think the primary reason for that is to draw industrial type traffic off of 2200 West. I think that is consistent with what the council did in June, recommending that the commission and the council consider an M1A rezone, which is mentioned on page 1 and 12 of the staff report. And then this is just another slide similar to the one we already saw that shows the compatibility of the intended use and rezone and master plan amendment with this 80 acres being surrounded by existing BP almost on all sides, with a small exception there on the east. This is the motion sheet that was before the council in June that was already mentioned and is also part of the staff report to adopt legislative action requesting the administration to review the property here in question for potential rezone to M1A as part of the annexation that had occurred. Then also, the foundation, of course, has agreed to meet the two conditions set forth in the recommendation by the staff report, particularly with regard to the wetland delineation study. There is one in existence that was done recently. This is the front page of that report. It's been submitted with our application, so it's a matter of record. The highlight from that would be on the next slide. The boxed text indicates that of the 80 acres, there was approximately 1.52 acres that were found to be a wetland, and that was created artificially by irrigation runoff from the neighboring landowner to the east. That note is in the last paragraph of this slide, talking about that. This is the highlight again of that delineation report, showing the survey that was done in connection with the report and basically noting a finding that there are no playa wetlands here with the possible exception of this small 1.55 acre piece on the east border of the property. And that is essentially our presentation. We wanted to be brief, and again, thank you for the opportunity. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any clarifying questions from the committee before we open up? Nope. All right, then I will open the public comment for this. I've got a list of names here. I will call you up and give the name of the next person or two so that you're ready. Please state your name into the record. You'll speak from the microphone over there. You'll have 2 minutes unless you're a representative of a community organization. And what else? Trying to remember. We ask that, there's no clapping, cheering, jeering, booing, whether you're pro, con. We just ask that you just let people speak. So thank you.
Thank you.
We will, if you guys can stay there in case we have questions after. Sure. We will start with Soren Simonson, and then Laura Martins, and then Tim Rule. Oh, and also, if you don't, go ahead, you're good. I've got some handouts. Okay. Yeah, you can just hand them over here.
Good evening. My name is Soren Simonson. I'm the Executive Director of the Jordan River Commission, and I'm here in my official capacity. I don't know if we qualify as a recognized community organization. We are a partner of the city, which is a member of the Jordan River Commission. I'm not uncertain if I have 2 minutes or 5. Maybe staff could answer that.
No, you have to be a recognized community organization, like similar to a community council.
Okay, thank you. I've passed around some maps. The first one shows areas around the Great Salt Lake that are particularly sensitive. They're identified in the white with the orange boundary and in the pink. You'll notice that the areas around the Weber River and around the Jordan River have significant areas that are not in permanent protection. On the back of that sheet is a blow-up. It shows this area that includes the North Point, and you can see the wetland that's identified, which is the parcel that you're referencing this evening in pink, and a large area of upland area that's not protected wetland. I wanted to just call to your attention the second page, which is the North Point Small Area Plan. This blow-up box in the Small Area Plan says that this plan's effectiveness is contingent on following the standards of this plan. One of the standards of the plan is the land use map, and you'll note that this area is not identified as open space, but as a wetland. This plan is only about 2 years old. It was adopted at the end of 2023, and already the city is inconsistently following this plan. The entire Crossy property, which is also identified as open space, was recently rezoned as part of an annexation petition. This area that you're considering tonight is not just identified as open space, but it is a wetland. It is actually a wetland, regardless of what the plan you looked at. It's not connected to a water body. It's a seasonal playa, but it is connected to the delta area of the Great Salt Lake. And that matters because this whole area is unprotected. The last page that I give to you is from the city's general plan, Plan Salt Lake. And it identifies as 2040 targets, expanding natural lands and watershed protection acreage. Every initiative that's identified in the city's general plan is violated if this petition is adopted tonight.
That's time.
And so I encourage you to reject this petition and follow the plan. We encourage you to do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will hear from Laura Martins, and then Tim Rule, and then Roberta Fletcher. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't click the box to speak, but I just think we should ask the current residents, the birds that use this area.
Sorry, could you state your name?
Laura Martins.
Thank you.
If we should ask them if they want buildings in their natural area. Thank you.
Thank you. Tim Rule did not wish to speak, so I'll just read this in. I oppose rezoning wetlands. The wetlands are too important for the wildlife, the environment, and the Great Salt Lake. Next, another one, sorry. Also from Roberta Fletcher, I oppose the development of 80 acres of wetlands that is so important to the birds and other wildlife. The wildlife has lost so much habitat over the decades to development and human encroachment. Next, can we hear from Heather Dove? And then Alma Mendoza and Brian Moench.
Good evening. My name is Heather Dove, and I currently serve on the board. Are you guys getting an echo? No, just me. I currently serve on the board of Great Salt Lake Audubon, and I'm speaking on behalf of our members. I want to urge the Planning Commission and the City Council to reject this proposal by the Clark and Christine Ivory Foundation to rezone the current area to light industrial. The rationale for this proposal is evidently that if this land is turned into an industrial park, the proceeds can then be turned to build affordable housing. This area, as you know, contains some of the last vestiges of agricultural land and life in Salt Lake County. It's also located right in the wetlands of Great Salt Lake and next to wetlands and duck clubs that contain prime habitat for ducks, shorebirds, owls, raptors, and songbirds. As we have all told you many times before, these wetlands are hydrologically connected to Great Salt Lake, the enormous shrinking body of water that is now 1/3 its original size. Every wetland destroyed from here on in will result in yet another nail in the coffin. And once these wetlands and playas are destroyed, they will be gone forever. You cannot recreate them, and you cannot mitigate for them. And don't think that you'll be able to protect them under the Clean Water Act. Since the Supreme Court decision of Sackett v. EPA in 2023, ephemeral wetlands are no longer considered waters of the United States and are no longer eligible for federal protection. So that means the state and the local communities must be the ones to protect. The idea of upzoning.
Next, we'll hear from Alma Mendoza, and then Brian Moench, and Joshua Taylor.
Hi, my name is Alma Mendoza, and I am the neighbor to this property right here and the only farm that exists next to this property. And it's really no wildlife since the new development of the 432 acres that's being developed, like 20 warehouses. It used to be, but in the last couple of years, like almost 2 years, those birds that used to come, beautiful birds, them from the south and everything, it's nothing. The deer used to come by, nothing. The only wildlife that you're gonna see there are my turkeys. Other than that, I am in favor of rezoning, of having them rezone this 80 acres. I am 10 acres, and all my other neighbors are rezoning as well, and everybody's just getting ready to move on. Yeah, it's being really developed by a lot of warehouses, and it's just time for a change and time for us to move on. Thank you.
Thank you. Next from Brian Moench, and then Joshua Taylor, and then Joanne Gregory.
I'm Dr. Brian Mensch, president of Utah Physicians for a Healthy Environment. I'm here on behalf of that organization, so I should get 5 minutes. I just finished talking to a reporter who moved here from Texas.
That's not a recognized organization, so we're only going to give you 2.
We're not recognized as an organization?
The city contains a list of recognized community organizations. It's it's groups that have submitted and applied to be a part of that group. And if you're not a part of that group, then you only get 2 minutes like every other citizen.
I just finished talking to a reporter who moved here from Texas a year ago. She is shocked at the air pollution we put up with, which is now the worst in the country. The Planning Commission's proposed upzoning will make that worse in four ways. One, more industrialization of any type brings more use of fossil fuels. Two, it also brings with it more water consumption, which will siphon more water from the Great Salt Lake. Three, wetlands and open space will be sacrificed that are right now acting as pollution sponges, absorbing it from the atmosphere. Studies have shown a direct correlation between the amount of wetlands and local air quality. And four, this development will trigger a cascade of further development, as the previous speaker outlined. So the impact will go far beyond 80 acres. Air pollution kills people, triggers heart attacks and strokes, lung diseases of every kind, cancer of every type, all of which are the 4 leading causes of death. Several thousand Utahns die every year because of our air pollution. It is shortening the life of everyone in this room, whether you realize it or not. It causes billions of dollars of economic loss and is likely the #1 reason people leave the state. Now, you could rationalize the upzoning saying it's only 80 acres, that isn't going to have a huge impact. And then you can say that over and over again for every single proposal, and it becomes a death by 1,000 cuts. Yes, in order to have air that doesn't kill people all slowly or some of us quickly, you have to start saying no to some people who want to keep making money no matter what. Consider this, your children's future. Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Joshua Taylor, and then Joanne Gregory, and then Dita Seed.
My name is Joshua Taylor. I live in downtown Salt Lake, and I have been a Utah resident for almost 6 years. One of the most important parts of living in Utah for me is the outdoor recreation opportunities, and I recently added bird watching to that list of Utah recreation I love. I've personally enjoyed bird watching for the Utah Great Salt Lake wetlands, and understand that even plots of land that aren't readily accessible for recreation play an important role in supporting the species of birds and other wildlife that live in or migrate through the area. Wetlands also contribute to improvements in water quality and air quality, as the previous speaker mentioned, and reducing pollutants in water. These wetlands are a piece of that defense that stands between Salt Lake City and the Great Salt Lake. Opening this land for development would remove a key piece of water quality control and impact and pollute 80 acres of wetlands and wetland adjacent areas. Even if wetlands are delineated and not developed, developing that natural open space surrounding those delineated wetlands would remove that protection and that barrier. In this time where the Great Salt Lake is threatened and vulnerable as it is our responsibility as Utah citizens and those with more decision-making power than I to protect the quality of this lake that created and supports this city and the communities that we live in. For these reasons, I oppose the upzoning of this area.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Joan Gregory, and then Dita Seed, and then Quinn McQueen.
My name is Joan Gregory, and I'm a lot shorter than the gentleman before me. And I live in Salt Lake City. I am opposed to the proposed upzoning of the Great Salt Lake wetlands in this North Point community. You mentioned an asterisk in your earlier reports. I have an asterisk. These wetlands are living, breathing parts of the Great Salt Lake ecosystem. And once they are gone forever. Forever means they're not coming back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Dita Seed, and I work with the Center for Biological Diversity. We're a national nonprofit with more than 1.8 million members and online activists dedicated to protecting endangered species and wild places. So over the last 5 years, we've been very involved in these discussions about how to conserve Great Salt Lake wetlands. And we were very involved in the North Point Small Area Plan development. And what we're seeing right now is that whole thing is being tossed right out the window. And all of the none of the mitigation measures that were listed there have even been attempted by the city. Now, there was great fanfare at the time and discussion about how committed the city was to protecting wetlands and Great Salt Lake wetlands in particular. And now we're looking at the destruction of wetlands right up against these duck clubs, which are really important areas. But more importantly, this playa serves an important ecological purpose. Now, under the Clean Water Act, if you just heard, it's not going to be counted under the Clean Water Act as a wetland, but it's still a biological wetland. And if there was water in there, you would have birds. So I submit to you not to give away our power as a community by upzoning this or recommending the upzoning of this right now. This is too critical of a time for us. And once you upzone, sorry, I'm so upset. I'm getting high heart rate notices from my phone. Once you upzone this, that's it, game over. We have no ability to negotiate anything here. So I'm just urging you to do the right thing and to deny this recommendation. Also, mitigation measures are not the solution. We've seen them fail over and over again. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Quinn McQueen, and then Lauren Griffith, and then Katie Pappas.
Hi, good evening. My name is Quinn McQueen, and I'm here representing hundreds of my neighbors, friends, and family who are opposed to this development. I was raised in Salt Lake City, and I am deeply embedded in this community. I call this place my home. The Great Salt Lake is shrinking rapidly, already causing unprecedented ecological damage. This crisis is now on the national stage. It is embarrassing and deeply upsetting to speak with people outside our state who only hear about Utah's failure to protect one of its most important natural resources. I cannot understand how we are continuing to make decisions that are so short-sighted. Opening these 80 acres to development would permanently destroy them. There is no mitigation that replaces wetlands once they are gone. This development would irreparably harm adjacent fragile ecosystems and bring increased truck traffic, air and light pollution, noise, and contaminated runoff. These impacts do not stay contained, they spread through our neighborhoods and into our lungs. Unfortunately, I find myself in conversations with friends and family, wondering if we can continue to live, earn, and spend here in Salt Lake City. So if the environmental concerns do not move you, perhaps the economic implications will. People leave when air quality worsens, when dust storms increase, and when leadership appears unwilling to protect public health. When residents leave, businesses struggle to attract talent, healthcare costs rise, property values stagnate, and the tax base erodes. This is how states lose their competitive edge, slowly and then all at once. Protecting wetlands is not anti-growth, it is pro-stability, pro-health, and pro-economic resilience. Please protect our wetlands and keep these playas undeveloped. The community opposes this project. Please listen to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Lauren Griffith, and then Katie Pappas, and then Allison Musser.
Hello, I'm Lauren Griffith. Thank you so much for the time. It's good to be here today. I'm going to share with you my reasons why I oppose this rezone. It would be a detrimental consequences, and I think it's a bit of an oxymoron to say you're going to do responsible development in a sensitive area. Utah has lost 300,000 acres of agricultural land from 2017 to 2022, and since 2000 we've lost 1.2 million acres of agricultural land. It's important to protect these. They serve ecosystem benefits as well as agriculture to grow foods and crops. There are also impacts to groundwater. You may or may not know that parts of Utah are currently sinking. In Davis County, there are areas that have sunk almost a foot in the last decade. This is, threatens the stability of foundations. These developments create impervious surfaces where there's less runoff. They also increase pumping demands. stormwater issues, water quality issues right on the banks of the Great Salt Lake. And while this is surrounded by industrial development, it's counter to the plan, and past mistakes don't justify future mistakes to add on to those as well. And I understand that there is a housing crisis, but this is not the time or the place to attempt to solve that. There's already a Salt Lake County West General Plan that plans to put roads, utilities, and mixed-use growth on the western bench. There are there's between 3,000 and 4,000 empty apartment units because they're unaffordable, because the apartments that have been approved have been almost overwhelmingly luxury and Class A apartments since 2020. And the point I'm trying to make is that there are other ways that we can fix our housing crisis. We don't need to put a development on these wetlands. Our health is being attacked at every level of government. The EPA is not even considering human health consequences. The state's keeping coal burning plants alive that should have shut down according to their original plans and fighting lawsuits instead of upgrading equipment. And so local government is kind of our last resource, because it has to stop somewhere, because we're going to keep getting more people and there's going to keep being these pressures, and we have to be able to stand into them. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Katie Pappas, and then Allison Musser, and then Evan Sugden.
Hi, my name's Katie Pappas. I am speaking today in opposition to the proposal to upzone 80 acres of the North Point area, excuse me, from agricultural to M1A zoning. This would be another broken promise to a once quiet rural haven that has already been heavily impacted by warehouses and constant truck traffic. While preserving natural areas is laudable, building right up to their boundary eliminates much of their value to birds, wildlife, and humans. Trading preservation of another wetland for this one is a losing proposition. We need all the wetlands we can get. Wetland delineation should have been done by an objective party using scientific data. We've already lost and will continue to lose large wetland areas in the Great Salt Lake Basin, from Spanish Fork to Box Elder County, due to huge economic development projects, including the inland port. We don't even know what those impacts will be. While this may be a relatively small area, it is one of many being impacted. We need to look at the big picture. Although our city and state seem to prioritize growth and development, it is just as important to consider things like impacts to neighborhoods, water use, bird and wildlife habitat, air quality and human health impacts, climate change, and saving the Great Salt Lake. Please recommend against this upzone. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Allison Musser, and then Evan Sugden, and then Cindy Cromer.
Good evening. My name is Allison Musser, and I'm a property owner across the street from this proposal. I'm here tonight to oppose the petition to amend the general plan and rezone of approximately 80 acres at this site, which is supported by our own petition that has over 900 signatures at this time. The initial 45-day public input notice described this request only as a rezone from AG2 to M1, which is not incorrect, but it failed to disclose that the property is designated as natural open space and wetlands. And that information was later included on only the Planning Commission meeting, which left the community without an opportunity to speak or provide input based on that information. Beyond that procedural concern, the request directly contradicts the city's adopted North Point Small Area Plan. That plan identifies this as natural open spaces wetlands, as we've heard today, and it's meant to be preserved due to the ecological value, the connection to the Great Salt Lake, and the role in flood mitigation, water quality, and wildlife habitat. It also makes clear that industrial development belongs in areas without significant environmental constraints, and wetlands are constraints. They're not development opportunities. Approving this petition would undermine the purpose of the small area plan and set a troubling precedent that adopted plans can be set aside when they limit development potential or land value. The North Point Small Area Plan was developed through an extensive public process involving residents, staff, and stakeholders. Disregarding it so soon after adoption diminishes the integrity of that process and the public trust. I respectfully urge the city to deny this petition, and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Evan Sugden, then Cindy Cromer, and then Richard Mingo.
Good evening. My name is Evan Sugden. I'm a fifth-generation resident of Utah and Salt Lake City. I live in Salt Lake City currently. I'm a biologist by training. I'm here to speak out against the proposal to upzone the Great Salt Lake wetlands as described. Many words have been spoken before me, and I won't repeat a lot of those details, but I do want to leave the commission with one little nugget, and that is we're going to struggle to preserve the Great Salt Lake, one of the most difficult tasks the state will have ever undertaken. You cannot preserve an ecosystem and consume it at the same time, and that's what we're watching. I respectfully urge you to deny this petition. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Cindy Cromer, then Richard Mingo, then Amelia England.
I'm going to focus on the issue which is missing, the transfer of development rights. It was almost 16 years ago in the spring of 2010 that I began talking about the need for transfer of development rights, or TODs, to protect historic and natural resources, following a nationwide search. I didn't spit on it, I promise. There are at least 5 municipalities in Utah that now have the TOD as a tool. The North Point Small Area Plan identified the need for this tool. The city has failed to adopt a tool which could make a tremendous difference in the future of the North Point area. As a member of this commission, you have the authority
All right,
to...
it's keep it doing that. Can we? Yeah. Sorry, do we just pause for
I
a second?
can use my teacher voice. Okay.
It's not that we don't respect your teacher voice, but it all has to be recorded, so.
Hit the button.
Where it says push, if you have the right kind of glasses. Okay, I'm going to go back to where I was talking about how much difference a TOD could make in this area. You could redraw the map. You could protect areas in the North Point area. As a member of this commission, you have the authority to initiate petition for TODs. That you haven't done so isn't hard to understand because only 2 members of the current commission were involved in the hearings for the North Point Small Area Plan in 2022. The commission at that time ran so amok regarding distribution uses that the mayor intervened in January of 2023 and suggested that the city council ignore part of the commission's errant recommendation regarding distribution uses. I have never seen anything like that in 40 years of watching. I'm watching your faces and I'm seeing some people who didn't know about this. Only 2 members of the current commission were serving when the city council adopted the plan in 2023. The turnover in the membership of this commission means that only 2 members have the history of the plan adopted only 2 years ago. It is very clear that the plan calls for TODs as a tool. It is clear to me that if the city had the tool, we could identify more balanced outcomes throughout the city.
That's time.
Especially regarding preservation and conservation.
Thanks. Paused as we figure out mics, or does it seem like it followed her to that one?
I don't know what's going on. Give me a minute.
Sure. Ready to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. My name is Richard Mingo. I live in Salt Lake City. I recently retired from the U.S. Department of the Interior. Over my 38-year career, I had the opportunity to work on numerous wetland planning and restoration efforts across the state of Utah, including the Lower Duchesne Wetlands Mitigation Project with the Ute Tribe in Duchesne and Uinta counties, the Bear River Migratory Bird Refuge in Box Elder County, the Provo River Delta Restoration Project, and the Utah Lake Wetland Preserve in Utah County, to name a few. But perhaps some of the most important work that our agency completed over the last 4 decades was acquiring, restoring, and protecting wetlands along the east shore of the Great Salt Lake. Wetlands along the east shore of the Great Salt Lake are arguably some of the most important wetlands in the state. The last project that I had the opportunity to participate in prior to my retirement was the North Point Small Area Plan. Not only does the plan protect critical wetland, it protects critical ecological linkages to other adjacent wetland areas, including areas where the federal government or where federal tax dollars have been heavily invested for wetland purposes. These include the South Shore Preserve, the Gilmore Sanctuary, Farmington Bay Wildlife Management Area, and the Great Salt Lake Shorelands Preserve. The city's recently adopted North Point Small Area Plan, created through years of community engagement, clearly identifies the subject land as protected natural open space. Changing that designation now would undermine the planning process and permanently eliminate one of the last large wetland playas in the area, along with these critical ecological linkages to other protected areas. I respectfully ask you to honor the commitment made by the city. And
that's time. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then next, Amelia England.
Hi. I'm Amelia England. I've lived in Utah my whole life. I'm 6 months pregnant and I want to raise my son in Salt Lake. I'm not opposed to growth. I'm obviously contributing to the population. I appreciate thoughtful and evidence-based planning and development. However, I'm opposed to the subzoning. This land is not vacant or underutilized. It plays a vital role. There's no community, educational, or economic benefit to developing wetland areas. We all lose. Utahns are already suffering insufficient environmental protections and false promises of compatibility. We have the smallest window to stop the short-sighted and dysfunctional patterns of the last century. Please do what's right for Utahns. Thank you.
Thank you. That is all of the cards that I have. Is there anyone else who wished to speak to this item? Okay. Oh, sorry, never mind. There is another card. Ian Napper. Oh, right, sorry, I need to read this one into the record, okay. So Ian Napper's comment is, in opposition, please keep it natural open space for conservation. No to development. All right. All the mics crackle now. Well, I'll give the applicant some time to respond if you'd like to comments. They largely center around,
Close the public hearing.
Oh, and I will close the public hearing. So go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Just a couple of clarifications based on the comments that were shared by members of the public. The intent here is not to provide affordable housing. In fact, I believe due to the airport protection zone overlay, housing is not an allowed use. Yeah, is not an allowed use. Rather, as it states in the condition of approval, the foundation is committed to working to bring local businesses here and other charitable organizations and the type of development that would benefit other causes core to the Ivory Foundation mission. Also, the M1A zone does have a safeguard in for wetlands. We've also agreed to that condition that at the time any development occurs, a delineation be done and wetlands, if found, would not be developed. Third point of clarification is an independent third party did, in fact, commission the current delineation that was referenced in our presentation. It was done on a scientific basis by a reputable wetland engineer. The state of Utah actually commissioned that delineation, not the foundation. The land has very marginal use from an ag standpoint. In fact, it's been fallow for many years. It never produced a crop. It was used intermittently for livestock grazing. Just important to note, the foundation is not your typical out-of-state developer like the one next door. developing this just purely for profit and to generate dollars. They're committed to providing substantial community benefit, again, core to the mission of the foundation, that provides basic needs and advancement opportunities for those in need. Lastly, just a point of clarification. This property is not next to the Dock Club. In fact, it's next to a 1 million square foot building built by Scannell and many other large buildings that are either existing or under construction or planned. And the M1A zone would provide limitations on building size, nowhere near as permissive as the surrounding buildings that the foundation, of course, recognizes and would obviously comply with. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I will turn it over to the committee for discussion.
I appreciate you guys coming out and telling us what's important to you about this part of this city. I think that this property is pretty close to the Duck Club. When you're there and looking around, you can kind of like see the horizon. You can see the air traffic control tower. There's not a lot out there, but there are, big buildings near there, around there. But I think it's not fair to say that it's not adjacent to a duck club, but it's not far away from a duck club either. That's what I say.
Real quick, you mentioned that the wetland study was in the record. I did not see that on the staff report. Mr. Chair, I did not see the Wetlands Commission on the staff report. Can I address?
Well, ask staff now.
Okay.
And the wetlands delineation study was not provided to staff or in the record. The applicants have that here.
Okay.
I think it's 197 pages. Staff has not reviewed that or anything, but they have it available.
Understood.
That, yeah.
Yeah. So was there, because early on it was.
We did send it to you yesterday, Eric.
Yeah, it
Okay.
wasn't provided with the staff report. It wasn't, it hasn't been reviewed by staff in time or anything
Eric,
like that.
can you talk into your
I'm
microphone?
sorry.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Just a point, we included it because we were going to reference in our presentation, but it was not included in our original application to staff.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
The original, yeah. Okay.
Question about the the map that we've been looking at here. The yellow rectangles, those are constructed buildings, correct?
No, the yellow rectangle is the subject property in question, the subject of the rezone request and the master plan amendment. That is the 80 acres.
No, sorry.
I meant
I
sorry,
meant
the orange-colored building.
Let's call it chartreuse. Let's go with
Sorry.
chartreuse.
Ashley, do you know which size building that was?
Yeah, I'm trying to look at it right now. Here,
And
let me
the
pull it
sizes
up.
aren't
I have it here
material.
in my
I mean,
notes.
I guess the question is, there are a variety of different images here. We all are, probably pulling up Google Maps. Google Maps doesn't reflect that there are buildings to the east of this property, but it appears that there are in certain images included in the staff report. And I'm just trying to be clear on what is there, what isn't. And then I guess the follow-up question is, all of the, gosh, I don't know what colors to rely on. I'm trying to think back to the Crayola box, but the purplish, dusty gray rectangles to the south, I guess the west, are those all, those are approved structures? It's not just a massing?
Yes, so everything you see surrounding the subject property is included within Scannell. Scannell is a developer from, I believe, Chicago. It's a 440-acre planned industrial logistical center that was approved over a year and a half ago, maybe over 2.5 years ago, and they sought and received a rezone to business park, which has more permissive uses than the M1A zone does and allows for larger buildings, higher, taller buildings, and less safeguards for wetlands and the other things that the M1A safeguards. So yes, everything you see there is approved, and it's either in the planning stage, the construction stage, or exists.
Yes, and I can add a little bit of clarification. So the green building 3, as you can see it's turned a little bit. That building's roughly 1 million square feet on that one. If you go over to building 1, that one's about 199,000, which is in the blue.
I think the question is more just if they are already constructed, not their size.
So the 2 in the green, as you can see, they're already leased, so those ones are up and functioning. That yellow one is, my understanding is already as well, and that they are starting to build construction on those lots 4 and 6, and that's currently under construction.
I was just going to mention, to clarify, the buildings and everything to the west, everything you're seeing in blue, the subdivision has been approved, and so those lots have been approved in those sizes and those locations. The actual buildings themselves don't have building permits yet, but obviously what they've done is taken the lot size and put in setbacks, parking, and things that this is what could be built. So.
Got it. And the upzone to business park was done when, before or after the plan was put in place 2 years ago?
We could do some research here, but I think it was very similar at about the same time. I mean, Scanella was kind of one thing that kind of pushed us into wanting to have a small area plan, to be honest. So.
This is quite close to the proposed homeless campus. Is there planned to be any connection between this facility and the homeless campus in terms of employing folks, or?
There were discussions by the foundation with the state ongoing for the past several months. The location you're referencing is south and slightly east of this subject property. Yeah. I believe that's the preferred location. If the foundation can help from a donation standpoint for that a charitable or for that community benefit, the foundation's open to doing that. That is one reason why the state commissioned the delineation study here rather than the foundation.
Got it. Thank you. So this is part of that. Well, it's not entirely part of that, but there's a moderate nexus. Thank you. Anybody else?
So I just want to be clear on that. It was under consideration. The state DFCM commissioned the study, but they ultimately selected a different site to the south and east.
That they were interested in having it here. I believe their preferred location is the other one referenced a minute ago. I don't know that has actually been selected or approved. I don't know what the state process is involving that site. I just am aware that that's currently the preferred location.
What are we doing here? Like this isn't in line with the existing study, with the existing plan. We're asking for a plan amendment and a zoning amendment. This is there's seems to be a live dispute as to whether or not this is a wetland. The community is loudly opposed. I'm not sure I see a case for this. It should stay as it is. And I'm happy to make a motion to that effect if nobody else has anything to say.
I mean, I have more to say. I look at the map that we've been looking at for the last few minutes, and, my understanding of ecosystems, contiguity, connectivity seems to matter. They're building a road here, but I'm not a scientist, I'm not a biologist. We've heard from some who are. So, is this 80 acres of value to the ecosystem? I mean, I don't know that I feel we are the right folks to make judgments about whether an isolated parcel that's paved all around it can add ecosystem value to the Great Salt Lake. I don't feel that I am in a position to make a judgment on that. And we're making a recommendation. That's all we're doing. We have a map that was approved a couple of years back that says that our intention as a community is that this be natural land. Certainly the owners of the private property could till it tomorrow, but it's not ever been tilled as the applicant has, so I generally lean towards not approving it and just being consistent with at least our stated intent of a couple years back. If the council takes another decision, that's for them, but this is just a recommendation. And the community was clear about its aspirations for this site, whether or not they were in a position at any time, given that this is private property, to execute on that. But it's our job, in my view, to sort of speak to or affirm the intent that was, voiced very recently for the site. So that's my current take. I could be convinced otherwise. And I say I could be convinced otherwise for the reasons I stated at the beginning, which is I have some reservations about the idea that you asphalt the entire area around it, including building a new road between it and the Great Salt Lake, and there's still ecosystem value. But again, I'm not a scientist.
I think maybe pausing on this image is giving us a weird idea that all of these buildings are there, and this should obviously be what is also on there. This image is from the Scannell Logistics website, right? Like the company that owns all those buildings that are going to be built around there, that's who made this image. So it clearly looks like, well, obviously there should be just some more buildings in this. So let's look at a different map. Will you pull something else up that shows that the duck clubs are near there, and maybe you need to go to your own presentation instead of their presentation. But it's this property, when you're there, it's not all just a bunch of big buildings and an empty lot in the middle of it. That's not what it is. And those things are entitled, so they probably will be built, but it's also in the context of the other map that says we're calling this a wetland and you need to do a delineation report. And to be clear, the delineation investigation that's already been done doesn't count for our purposes, right? Like because we would require one to be done at the time that the change is made, right?
Right, so it would need to be reviewed.
Just reviewed or like prepare a new one? Because we already know what it says. If it says there's like 1.5 feet of wetlands.
Well, I don't think it's fair to say we know what it says because it's 197 pages and we haven't read it.
Yeah, we know what they say it says.
Yeah, so we're going to have standards for aquatic resources and things like that.
Yeah.
And there's multiple departments that would look at that. And so again, that would need to be, okay, now it's been provided, but that would need to be reviewed by the appropriate departments, things like that, and see if that meets our standards and things like that. And again, that would be, part of a development agreement to review that. It's also a requirement, time of subdivision or redevelopment.
Yeah. I'm kind of on Commissioner Rosenfield's side on this one.
I mean,
but
yeah,
I'm not going to make a motion.
I'll make the motion, but first I want to say one other thing, which is, right, like there's often difficult decisions that we make about balancing different community needs and values. We're facing a housing shortage. Sometimes we got to build things that people don't want. I've been out to the west side of the airport. I've seen how much space there is that's zoned for industrial in the inland port area. We're not facing a shortage of industrial logistics buildings. This is, to my mind, not that hard. So, with that, on the matter of PLN PCM 2025-00613, based on the information presented in discussion, I move that the Commission recommends that the City Council deny this zone amendment request for the following reasons. This, I guess it's out of compliance with the general plan because we haven't amended the general plan yet, or maybe we should go with the general plan amendment.
Commissioner, can I just interrupt? I think it would be appropriate to start with the master plan amendment first and then move on to the zoning map amendment.
All right.
I think we had a past issue with that, so I think we want to make sure we try to keep those in order.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry, the general plan amendment is after on my motion sheet. Okay, so in that case, that motion is withdrawn. For PLN PCM 2025-00614, based on the information presented in the discussion, I move that the Commission recommends that the City Council deny this general plan amendment request for the following reasons. It is not in line with the careful balancing process that was engaged in as part of the original North Point plan.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Rosenfeld and a second from Commissioner Burrows. So we will vote.
Jeff Barrett,
Yes.
Amy Berry,
I want to go on the record so that everybody understands that I opposed the business park rezone back when it came up. So I am in support. I'll vote yes.
Amy Burrows,
Yes.
Richard Leverett,
Yes.
Lila Rosenfeld,
Yes.
Brian Scott,
Yes.
Mike Vela.
Yes.
Passed unanimously.
All right. And then on the matter of PLN PCM 2025-00613, based on the information presented in discussion, I move the Commission recommends that the City Council deny this zone amendment request for the following reason. It does not comply with the zoning amendment standard 2H for protection of the environment, and also it is not in compliance with the general plan.
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Rosenfeld and a second from Commissioner Burrows.
Jeffrey Barrett,
Yes.
Amy Berry,
Yes.
Amy Burrows,
Yes.
Richard Leverett,
Yes.
Lila Rosenfeld,
Yes.
Brian Scott,
Yes.
Michael Vela.
Yes.
Passed unanimously.
All right, thank you, guys.
And quickly, this will still go before the City Council, correct? So there will be another opportunity for.
Yeah, sorry, that's a good point. So we are just making a recommendation. The final decision for this is up to the City Council. So if you're encouraged to go and voice your opinions there as well. Thank you. Do we want to pause or? No, they're already standing up. We'll take a 5-minute break, I guess. going to move along to our next item on the agenda, item number 5, which is the partial street vacation at approximately 2191 South, 2000 East. So we'll go ahead and hear from staff.
Awesome. Thank you so much. My name is Ben, and I will be presenting on the partial street vacation at 2191 South, 2000 East. The request is for roughly 775 square feet. It's located between the property line and the sidewalk, as evidenced by this kind of red triangle. This red triangle I threw together in Microsoft Paint because I cannot figure out how to do a triangle and drag it over. So it's not exact, but that is the rough location of it. This area has been fenced in for quite some time since the applicants moved into the property. Planning staff recommends that the commission forward a positive recommendation as recommended by staff to the city council. Just as a side note, the sidewalk will not be impacted whatsoever. This is strictly for that land in between property line and sidewalk. For some background, this was platted in 1934 as part of the Rosalind Heights subdivision. The applicant bought the property in the 90s and then moved into the property. At this time, there was this chain link fence, as evidenced in that red rectangle there. They replaced the chain link fence with the current existing vinyl fence 20 some odd years ago, and they now wish to replace that vinyl fence with a new fence. But during permit review, the zoning reviewer flagged that it was indeed over their property lines. And so they explored an encroachment agreement as well as a lease agreement, but due to some concerns about renewal of that down the road, they've decided to shift their focus to the right-of-way vacation. Here are some site photographs. The area in question is, I'm not sure, can we see the mouse very lightly here? It's this area back here, and I think it comes along very so slightly along the sidewalk there. Staff reviewed it against some city council policies. As discussed in the staff report, we do believe that it does comply with conditions, the condition being that the applicants make a payment of fair market value or agree with the city on some public improvements in lieu of cash payment. We also reviewed it against State Code 1020-813. It complies with that, staff believes, due to we don't believe that it materially injures or harms any person or public interest. We do believe that good cause exists. Additionally, City Council will be holding hearings to confirm those findings themselves, which is required via state code. Next steps, Plan Commission recommendation. You can recommend a positive recommendation with additional conditions, or a negative recommendation. It's important to note that City Council does have the final authority on this, especially when it comes to fair market value or public improvements. They could approve with more conditions, or deny. And then the applicants will not be conveyed the land until they satisfy that fair market value or public improvements. And again, our recommendation is to recommend as recommended in the staff report, which includes a condition for fair market value or public improvements.
All right.
That is all I got for you.
If the applicant's here, if you'd like to speak, you're welcome to. If not,
come on. And you just hit this button here.
We are Vincent Janice Rampton. We're really here just to answer questions in case there are any. A couple of clarifications for the record that was submitted. We did not know about the discrepancy between the physical border of the property and the record border until we made the application for the fence earlier, late last year, summer of last year. Perhaps we should have known about it because the property description doesn't include this interesting chunk, but it was simply assumed that it was part of the property. In fairness, the city didn't notice it either because they approved the fence that we put in 2003. So we're just here now to put things right and get the property so we can convey the whole lot to our children when we're gone.
Great. Thank you very much. Do we?
I have a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So my understanding is, I thought that we were now evaluating all vacations under the alley vacation standard, which allows conveyal of the property without cost to the property owners. But this, if in an R1 district, but this seems to show that the owners would actually need to pay. Can you explain the discrepancy there?
Yeah, I can. Excuse me, I can speak to that. Thankfully, we just transmitted new standards for street vacations to the city council because before it was unclear. We had been using two paths, whether it was using it, basically seeing it as an alley vacation, or we did have city council policies on street vacations. The standards are almost identical. The difference is that with a street, we've always required payment. It's an alleyway where the ordinance is very clear that an alleyway in single-family residential zones is not to be required to be purchased. It would be given to the property owners on either side.
And is there a legal distinction between an alley and a street?
Yes.
Okay.
Can I ask a related question, I think also for staff, and that is, what is an example of the type of public improvements that would be contemplated rather than payment? I mean, I assume we've seen these types of things before and that the payment's been satisfied that way. What are we talking about here?
I don't know that I have an example, to be honest with you. I think it just in the code says that we can do that. I mean, public improvements with things like if the sidewalk had failed or the curb and gutter had failed or there was something like that. In this case, looking at the pictures, it's probably not going to be an option. I haven't been there physically. I've just looked at the photographs, but this is not something that we do often.
Can you say how big that triangle is?
So, I believe
775 square feet.
Yeah, 775 square feet. Yeah.
If you go along the axis from the lower corner up, that's 23 and a half feet. And then it goes out. We discovered after we had it surveyed for this whole thing that the fence is also 1 foot on the city side of the lot as well. So our whole lot has been impacted by this.
If that's all the clarifying questions?
Yeah, so to clarify, would this just vacate that triangle, or would it actually vacate the entire front side of the property, that 1 foot?
Yeah. The entire plus that 1 foot is on this survey report that's in the it's in the staff recommendation.
The request in that survey, it drags down a little bit further down this way along Wilmington. It was hard to kind of make that shown on.
Yeah.
It is in the staff report, though.
Yeah.
If granted, the application would get us all the way to the sidewalk, all the way up.
Didn't this just really happen because the street bent to the southeast a little bit, and it was probably not anticipated to do that originally? That's
yeah.
basically what happened. Right?
That's assumed, yeah, because this property is the last property. As you move east, the other properties are not part of a subdivision, and so Wilmington jogged there.
So it looks like there's the same kind of missing triangle on 2020 Wilmington.
We just noticed
that too.
We'll have to tell our neighbors that their apple tree is on city property.
All right.
So those apples are public, just to be clear.
Yeah.
Those apples are public.
Apples are public.
Right.
Meridor used to throw them at our house all the time, so I assume they're public. Yeah.
All right. So I will open the public comment for this. If anyone would like to speak, you can step up to the mic.
I think you have one card, Commissioner.
I do?
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Sorry, that microphone is not working, so if you could please step up to the table here.
Hi, my name is Soren Simonson. I just so happen to be here, and these just so happen to be my great neighbors, the Ramptons. I walk past their home almost every day when I'm walking my dog. Not that it will matter. I hope you'll approve this, but I just want to speak in support of it. And I might suggest that you initiate as the planning commission, the same thing for their neighbor across the street and kind of clean this up, it would be great. I would just offer as public benefits, that's a great little shady spot that helps with our urban heat island. Their dogs are friendly and bring a smile to our face as we walk the neighborhood, and the Ramptons are just great neighbors and take good care of their yard. So those are all great public benefits. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Then I will close the public comment and move to us for discussion or a motion.
Well, I'll make the motion. Based on the information presented in discussion, I move that the commission recommends that the city council adopt this partial street vacation for PLN PCM 2025-00990.
I'll second it.
All right, then we have a
point of, no point of order, a question. Just before we move forward, I would offer a friendly amendment, but just to clarify with staff, there's nothing we can do about the definitions and changing this to where there's no fee?
Sorry, would you repeat that?
The changing the definition of what we're looking at to where there's no fee, because this is a street vacation, even though it's an easement across the sidewalk. And
I don't think there's anything that this body could do in that. And frankly, if we were to initiate a petition, it would be way past that by the time they get that. I mean, certainly this might be a conversation for the city council, but it's not probably for this body.
Okay, yeah.
What was asked?
I was looking
did you want to make a friendly?
If it was possible to make a friendly amendment, I would have. But the question was seeing if there's a way to amend something in the language here about how we're describing it to where we could treat this like an alley vacation with no fee versus a street vacation.
Yeah,
that's what it's getting back to. I tried to find it
Thank
myself.
you. You're good.
My Hail Mary was to see if you all knew anything I was missing, but I couldn't figure it out.
So we've got our motion and second. Go ahead and facilitate the vote, please.
Jeffrey Barrett,
Yes.
Amy Berry,
Yes.
Amy Burrows,
Yes.
Richard Leverett,
Yes.
Lila Rosenfield,
Yes.
Brian Scott,
Yes.
Michael Vela.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, y'all.
All right, and we will move on to our to our final item of the evening, another partial street vacation at approximately 2040 West Fortune Road. You have to hit
Am I
the,
on? Okay, good evening.
also the screen.
Push the big
You just have to hit
button.
the big button. Yep. Sweet.
Okay. All right. Good evening. This petition is for a proposed street vacation for Fortune Road. Thatcher Chemical Company is requesting for the city to vacate a portion of Fortune Road from approximately 2040 Fortune Road here to the intersection at Wallace Road. Thatcher Company is located between Redwood Road and I-215, north of California Ave and south of the Surplus Canal. The entire area around this street is industrial and zoned either M1 or M2. Fortune Road forms a T with Wallace Road, and with a dead end ending at Thatcher Properties over here. And then Fortune continues east and eventually connects with Redwood Road over here. All of the parcels adjacent to the proposed vacation are owned by Thatcher, and because the street dead ends at these properties, the street primarily functions as a private drive into Thatcher Properties rather than a public street. While there are some sidewalks and curb and gutter, it is generally hard to differentiate what is public right-of-way and what is private Thatcher property around this location. Thatcher Company is a chemical manufacturer that makes and distributes chemicals for various uses. Due to the sensitive nature of this facility, there are numerous gates and access controls along this street. Vacating the street would further secure the property by reducing access points and gates into Thatcher's campus. If the vacation were approved, some of Thatcher's properties would be landlocked or without public street frontage, as you can see the highlighted ones here. And so therefore, the lots would need to be consolidated and incorporated into the vacated portions of land. City departments reviewed the petition, and Transportation, Public Utilities, and Urban Forestry and Police had no concerns with the request. Fire stated that the street needs to remain a fire access road with a fire-approved gate, and the fire hydrant on site needs to be maintained and accessible. City engineering stated that any utilities put in the vacated street would require an easement. The West Side Master Plan states that this area of Redwood Road is not suitable to transition to residential development. So the likelihood of these properties redeveloping is very low. Staff has found that the petition complies with the standards outlined in 1452 and recommends that the Planning Commission forward a positive recommendation to the City Council with the conditions outlined in the staff report.
Awesome, thank you. I assume last guys standing are the applicants. If you would like to speak, you can, but you aren't required to. If you are going to speak, though, you do need to come up here to the mic so we can have it in the record. Okay, great, thank you. I will open for public comment.
I just had a clarifying question.
Yes.
For staff, why did we not put in a condition on this one that they purchase it by fair market value if it's the same, it's a street vacation?
So that is just kind of the next step in the process, so it doesn't have to be a condition.
Oh, so you just decided not to, but the previous one did. Like, I was just looking for some consistency.
No, it's sometimes we've tried to avoid doing this. Like, for example, there's a condition that you receive a building permit as you move forward. Well, the building permit's already required, so does it really need to be a condition of approval? So in this sense, the only way to exchange property, obviously they have to purchase it. So even if it's not outlined in there as a condition, it still is a requirement. And I assume the
I guess I
applicants
would
are aware
just
of that.
request for future when these come that there's like the consistency in that regard.
Yes,
So we treat it the same, so we're not wondering why.
Yes,
Thanks.
hopefully our new standards for street vacations will be very helpful in that too. So thank you.
Just a comment, just one of the things I love about this is driving around and seeing parts of the city I haven't seen
Real
before.
quick, is this a clarifying question?
No.
Okay, then we'll come back around.
Or no.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
These parcels have two different zoning. They're M1 and M2, some of them. So what will it be when they're consolidated in the road?
Yeah, so you're allowed to have one parcel be multiple zones, and there's no maximum square footage for the M1 and M2. So those are allowed to still be consolidated, yeah.
I didn't know that. And then, so what will the road be?
The road will be private, and so the road will end at that.
It won't have
butt
zoning?
of the T.
Because it'll be a private road? So it won't have any zoning? What do you mean?
So it will
Yeah.
become basically another parcel.
Yeah.
And then as they consolidate those parcels, it will become one large parcel. And so that zoning, whatever that line is right now, will stay the same. So an example, for example, on that 4th South and 8th East project that you reviewed a few weeks ago, where the back half is an RMF 35 and the front was in an MU zone,
Yeah.
that's still the same parcel. It's just when we look at zoning regulations, they're based on where is that line on the parcel. So they would be subject, those areas that are in the M1 are subject to M1 standards, and those in the M2 would be subject to M2 standards, even though they're on the same parcel.
The road doesn't have any zoning right now.
So roads do have zoning.
Oh.
I know it's a weird little thing is zoning, right? It's basically it bleeds from the properties on the other side of the road and meets in the middle.
Oh, okay.
So if you, for example, if you had M1 on both sides, the road would technically be M1. If it was M1 on one side and M2 on, it would be M2 to the middle and M1 to the other side.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I will open for public comment. Seeing none, I will close for public comment and turn it back to us for discussion. Michael?
Yeah, what I was getting to was, if it need, in that one graphic where you had the red gates were existing and the blue gates were proposed, where the blue gate is going to be proposed, I believe you're going to need a fireman's lockbox there. And so I just wanted to make certain that they knew about that, because that would be a requirement. That was what my comment was, so. Yeah.
All right. Does anyone else have any further discussion or like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion. Based on the information presented and discussion, I move that the commission recommends the city council adopt this request for PLN PCM 2025-00864.
I can second that.
All right. We have a motion from Commissioner Barry and a second from Commissioner Vella. Go ahead and vote.
Jeffrey Barrett,
Yes.
Amy Berry,
Yes.
Amy Burrows,
Yes.
Richard Leverett,
Yes.
Lila Rosenfield,
No.
Brian Scott,
Yes.
Michael Vela,
Yes.
passed 6-1.
All right. Thank you, guys. And that is the end of the meeting. Our next meeting is in 2 weeks on the 28th.